Welcome back, Gundam guys and Gundam gals. Patrick Grade here from gginfinitenews.com and gundamguide.blogspot.com. And for the first time in a long time, I'm happy to bring you a new review. Today we'll be taking a look at a preview release of the Mazinger Z figure from the great folks at threezero. They were kind enough to provide Gundam Guy and I with an early look at the figure, and I'm happy to share my experiences with the figure so far with you guys. The first thing you're going to notice is this figure is big. It stands at 16 inches tall and has some big detail as well. We have some big stompy feet, overlapping metal plate details, vents, rivets, pistons, big gears and hatches, and various other details that you think you would see in some sort of first generation robot. There's also a fantastic paint job to accompany all the new great detail. All of the weathering, rust, scuff marks, and battle damage really go a long way to add some depth to the figure and make you feel like you've got something special for your money. Let's move away from the design and start taking a look at the articulation of the figure. Starting at the bottom with the legs, we see a lot of good movement in the ankles with it swiveling side to side and forward and backward. In the toes, we have some movement as well. It goes up and down, and you can see that the pistons inside follow the movement of the toes. The knees have a ratcheting joint that allows for around 35 degrees of bend. In the upper thigh, we have some swivel movement just below the hip joint, allowing it to go side to side. And the hips have a strong ratcheting joint as well that do a good job of holding up the weight of the leg. There's a nice range of movement in the lower torso, allowing the upper body to swivel side to side, and you can even see the pistons up here tracking the movement as well, but don't go too far left or right because the pistons will come apart and it's a little difficult to get the pieces back together. There's a fair amount of movement in the upper torso, allowing it to go back and forth. Not too much, but it does come in handy. On the back, there's a large plate held in place by two powerful magnets that hides a switch for the light-up LED eyes, as well as a battery compartment for those lights. The shoulders, arms, and hands have some great articulation as well, with the fingers and thumbs having 3 points of articulation each, allowing for a natural range of movement. The wrists are free to swivel around on the ball joint, and the hands can even pop off to sort of recreate the rocket punch from the anime, although it usually comes apart just below the elbow. The elbow joint has around 40 degrees of bend, which looks pretty nice, and there's some swivel movement just below the shoulder joint as well. The shoulder joint itself has two ratcheting joints, one for the swivel and one for the outward movement. There's 2 points of articulation on the head and neck, allowing the neck to swivel and the head to go just a little bit further and go up and down a little bit, so good range of movement there in the head. So now let's take a look at the accessories that you get along with the figure itself. As I mentioned before, the hover pillar detaches from the head, and the wings fold out like it does in the anime. And like everything else on the figure, the hover pillar is well detailed and painted, with scratches where the wings fold up and other battle damage and details painted throughout. The Mazinger Z figure comes with 3 different weapons, 2 iron cutters / mighty knuckles, and 1 large mighty sword. The 2 iron cutters / mighty knuckles slot into place on either forearm, and these 2 weapons add a nice design element in either form. In the mighty knuckle form, you split the blade apart and fold either blade down to the side to form the iron cutter. Each blade is on a 3-joint swing arm that has very tight joints and no looseness whatsoever. Again, the paint job and detail on these weapons are great, with several shades of paint and molded in detail all over the weapons. The mighty sword is nice and large, over 12 inches tall, very heavy, very nicely detailed, great paint applications again, and some good detail down on the handle as well. The only issue that I have with the mighty sword is that there's no peg or way to attach it to the hands more directly. The last gimmick of the figure are the light-up LED eyes. As I mentioned before, the switch for the eyes is underneath the plate here in the back, as well as a battery compartment if you need to replace the battery. The LEDs aren't too bright, but they do a good job, and with the hover pillar attached to the head properly, you can see the light going through the peg up into the pillar itself. What threezero does well is they take a known property, in this case Mazinger Z, and really makes it their own. Just like with the upcoming release of the Full Metal Ghost and Full Metal Ghost Captain form, threezero adds their own unique design flair to the property and really comes up with something unique. And they've even announced that they're creating an Aphrodite A figure to follow the Mazinger Z sometime this year, and even a Titanfall figure here coming up soon. threezero has some great properties, and I look forward to seeing what they come up with. With its unique design and the weapons attached, the Mazinger Z figure here looks pretty menacing, much more so than the original design. I think threezero has done a great job of pulling off a much more mature look at the Mazinger Z overall, and giving it a much more interesting look. Since this is a preview release of the figure, I don't have all of the original packaging that comes along with it, so I can't show off the box or anything else that may come inside, which is unfortunate because I'm very interested in seeing what they include with it. and the final release might have some more accessories that go along with it, since some of the pictures on the threezero website show off some other items. But we'll have to wait for the final release to see. So I guess it's about time to wrap up this review and give you my final thoughts on the figure. This has been my first hands-on experience with any threezero figure, and overall I'm pretty impressed with it. I think the flair that threezero adds to the design of the Mazinger Z is pretty fantastic, as well as the attention to detail and overall quality of the figure. The fact that it stands over 16 inches tall, has some amazing detail, and some great paint applications would really make it stand out on anybody's shelf, especially next to some of the more traditional Mazinger Z figures out there. Overall, the articulation is good. It's not great, but it gets the job done, and you can pull off some pretty impressive poses with it if you take the time to do so. Overall, I think threezero has created a great Mazinger Z figure, and well worth the price of admission for those who are diehard Mazinger Z fans. The great overall quality and detail of the figure far outshine the few minor quibbles that I may have with it, and it's been a real treat to bring you my first experience with the threezero figure. And I want to send my thanks to that company on behalf of myself and Gundam Guy for letting us take an early look at the figure. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Please leave a comment down below about the figure or the video, and I hope to see you sooner than later with another new review.